Do, 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 do. Yeah. Okay, we are live.
Fade out's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. How it's
Yeah.
slow fade out.
Yeah. That was a thing before though. That was like that was a pretty, I think, common thing.
Uh-huh. Right.
Mm.
So welcome guys to the third episode now. Uh Wait, this is supposed to be episode two. I want to change that later because essentially the first one where we was picking the vibes is
It's episode
episode
0.
zero. Yeah, so this is episode two. It's the third time we're doing this. Reason for that is, yeah, we're finding out new footing, and today is a continuation of that conversation we've been having for 3 weeks now. Today is also week 11, almost like the finishing of week 11 for our current cohort 7 of the bootcamp, 90 days bootcamp. And yeah, it's getting to the point that almost at the finish line. Things are also pretty tiring in some ways. It's like a lot of training has been stacking on, and now some of the people are getting sick or just kind of fatigue hitting, exhausted, all those things. But we're almost at the finish line, and we want to also weave into the next training cycle. So one of the things we'll also be talking today is the public practice week will be the week 13th, technically, of our current training cycle. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And we only did 3 days, right? Last public practice week. Was it? Oh, was it
No,
5 days as well?
it was 5 days as well.
Did we
Yeah.
do a 3-day public practice thing? Or were we just talking about it at one point?
We were just talking about it, but then
Uh,
we're gonna go hard, so
yeah.
that we just did 5 days.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, do the final sprint on my end too. Like I'm driving, like gotta catch up on some things. And I didn't sleep at all yesterday. Actually, I slept a little bit. But I was finishing up John's interview. It just went live on my channel like not that long ago. And then also I mentioned the public practice week in there as well. In the description, I'll put the link in there. But we also got the merch stuff. Like I put a shout out to the merch. So like, but I don't have the link. So if you guys can give me the link, whoever wants to order those Shavaka shirts, send me those links.
Yeah. We'll also be putting in the link in our chat just a little bit later about how we can also register for the public practice week. And yeah, overall, how do we jump there together? But before we do that, how about we also explore a little bit more about the topic of today, which is meditation or realization, really, as a team sport, and how actually a lot of the thing that maybe surprise people is even this concept of relating when they come into CC. It's like, why don't we talk about um like, I don't know, technical ways of meditating and enter a certain state of absorption, which I think we do talk about it, but it's not the end on and be on, right?
It's funny because people it almost seems, I mean, it seems, I wasn't going to say it seems like people are confused, but on one hand, people have they want this kind of like technical mapping, they want something like that, but then we also get some criticism from people when they first enter the boot camp about like, why is there so much talking,
Yeah.
why yeah, so it's just funny.
Because on one hand, like people want, understandably, right? We want to understand how to do certain things, but when
Mhm.
we actually got explained, sometimes it can get overwhelming. Like,
Yeah.
this is not as simple and straightforward. And sometimes it is simple and straightforward, but when we actually see all the nuance or the intricacies of
Mhm.
these techniques and methods, sometimes it can get overwhelming. And I would say, like, the reason why meditation is a team sport is a big problem with the lacking of assessment and feedback that we may not ever have when we practice meditation in the modern context. Because a lot of us will be training through books or videos or buy courses that is very distant, right? It's just constantly distant learning, distant from the teachers, distant from the materials, distant from the context. So it could be the case that we're trying to read the suttas, but it's not the same context anymore. So there's a lot of things that's lost in translation. Or in the other case that you want to learn from this meditation teacher, but they don't really know you personally. So like they give an overall suggestion, but it may not fit you, or maybe not is the thing that you need the most at the current moment, right? So then you don't have feedback.
Yeah, I think the hardest part about the bootcamp, I think, isn't the sits actually. It's during the discussion and off the cushion when you relate with people. At least that's what I'm working on. Yeah. And talking about team sport, it's easy to just look at meditation as like a solo realization kind of endeavor. But actually, the first time I realized meditation could be a team sport was actually during my Vipassana retreat. Because I was actually realizing how just sitting together in a meditation hall does make your meditation a lot more powerful. Like just everybody we were at a basketball court at that time. Just everybody sitting in the basketball court day in after day out, and just like kind of holding each other's space. And it almost felt like we're all like sitting inside an airplane and driving that aircraft together. But during the boot camp, it's like that idea of like transmission is just taken to another level. And our teacher Mei Chen is been kind of coaching us on how to maybe like co-create the transmission. Like it's all very new to us, but Adrian said like getting initiated, which I also interviewed him. He said getting initiated feels like getting drafted into a basketball team. And there's a lot of nuances, not just relating with other acolytes, but relating with you guys, with team, with a teacher, Mei Chen. So it really does feel like a team sport. It's coaches, players, even like some people you think are like bench players, whatever. They have like very crucial roles. Sometimes in like week 8 will just pop up and have some crazy insights. And how do you like navigate all those dynamics, especially
like a white mamba. You know who that is?
No.
You don't know who that is? What is his name? He was what was his name? What team did he play on? I want to say he averaged like 3 points a game. He won a NBA championship ring, but he didn't even play in the finals. And there was a clip of him where, I think at first he kind of had this bad rap and people called him White Mamba kind of mockingly, but then he was playing a series of one-on-ones against like Division I collegiate, players, and he was smoking them like 1 to 11, 0 to 11, and he said something like what was it? It's like I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me, something like that. And so even though he didn't play, he didn't play a lot of minutes. I think his teammates had a lot to say about his because he played. I want to say he played for like over a decade in the league, and his teammates had a lot to say about the role he kind of held on the team, and it's how important it was.
And
That's
also,
just
like, when I used to watch NBA, there was a lot of like when I watched like Sports Center, there's always a lot of talks about
Scalabrine.
Like there's so many talents in this team. Like, how do we manage that talent? The team with the most talent might not necessarily be the best team because if they don't know how to play like a team, having a lot of talents can actually be detrimental. And then, like, we have a lot of people on our team that have certain degrees of realization. Right? Like, how do you work with people who are realized? And how do you get pinned by people who might be more realized than you?
Yeah.
Like when you're solo, you just think you got everything. Like that's the end. I'm at the end. But then when you work with a team of people who have the same realization as you, what is that like?
Yeah.
I don't think that's something that most people experience. Actually.
Yeah.
Actually, there's people that are like smarter than you, bro. And then maybe you're wrong here. Like, how do you contend with being measured?
Yeah, being pinned down, being measured, being giving very, very sometimes very, very critical feedback. Of course, the intent is to construct a new version of ourselves that can withstand those kind of feedback, right? That can actually grow and mold ourselves beyond what is currently available. And I think a lot of us, like we have three of us here, but also many people on the team, we constantly push each other to just the right kind of challenge, the level of exertion that will allow us to grow. I mean, like, I think a lot of us can also literally see how Taylor's become more comfortable in front of the camera over time with this podcast. Because at the start of the show, I recently also like signed to republishing the Legacy podcast. So episode 1 was 8 months ago, something like that. It's not that long, but I mean, in CC accelerated timeline, it feels like a long time ago before like I see Taylor was much less comfortable with just sharing himself. But now, I mean, like, but that takes a lot of just reps on attention, right? So it's just in this way.
Yeah, because
yeah,
like what do you want to call that? Recognition or realization. Like it doesn't come with an immediate, I don't know, like some sort of magical, I have these skills that I can instantiate in lived experience. Like you just have clarity and it's like, I'm clear and I'm not confused about my awkwardness or my lack of like finesse with this. And I can see that, right? But you still have to, like, we are still conditional beings in that way. Like you still have to then like through repetition and like develop, cultivate the ability to express that clarity. Yeah.
Nowadays, when I engage with you guys, or even just hopping on the morning session, afternoon session, it just more feels more like I'm inactivating like a hive mind, or even just like driving around, walking around. It's like you're connected to like a hive mind, like a Mandela. Yeah, and then you can actually learn to like yoke into other people, aggregate as others, or like borrow their talents, borrow their skills. It's like, oh, Tyler's really good at like philosophy, right? So like you can just like yoke into him and just like borrow some of his talents that way. And there's a skill to do that. And then sometimes I just feel like I'm actually just a student in CC now. Like even like Chung Ho, sometimes I was just like, oh, I'm learning so much from just reading Chung Ho's log. It's like, oh, I didn't need to look up information. It's just like actually just not even intentionally looking at his log. It's just like doing a discussion. Chung Ho just expound on like the amount of knowledge he has about like classical Buddhism, like the hard jhanas, whatever, things that I had no idea about. It's like, oh, I just learned something. Like just got a download from Chung Ho.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, and I wonder if we'll get into that a bit more. But like this being on a team, a team dynamic, and if I may say so, a high functioning team. It's both this ability to lead and follow, right? Like the confidence to lead, but the humility to follow.
Yeah, that's something I had to work through. I didn't have the humility to follow before.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. And I think we gotta learn it again and again, right? Sometimes it's like it's now the goal is to take up the leading position, and can we step up to it? Which leads right into the next point, which is I think the intent for CC to build our roster of talent is to become like a star-studded cast, like just people who have their own thing going on, and we can represent our pure being, our dharma in that way, and then becoming comfortable with expressing that. And one of the ways that we'll be expressing that comes this public practice week, the second public practice week that we're going to be hosting. The last time it was just me doing on the transmission, but now it will be 5 of us. So me here. Oh, Frank just bounced. So me here, Taylor's doing one of the day, Frank doing one of the day, Jay's doing that one of the day, and Albert doing one of the day. So this will be also now we're seeing like, okay, different flavors coming out, and we'll see how we'll be handling that.
We're also going to make trading cards and
trading card.
Trading card, yeah. It's funny. I was thinking it's like where when you said that like this talent cultivation agency, and now we're going to have this sort of like team debut with their both the team debut and their solo debut. It's like I feel like a K-pop star.
Yeah, if you like, there's a chance you might get traded, bro. Or you not even traded, get cut, dude. You might get cut here. You don't keep up, you might get cut.
Yeah, the league is brutal. Like it's brutal.
Right.
It's like, yeah, so this public practice week is showcasing, I was just saying, Frank, about how now the started cast is now 5 days. One of the instructor will lead each of the day. So that will be 5 days, 5 flavors, 5 instructors. But we also are debuting our new roster of mentors. So the mentors would now be leading and involving in the discussion. Adrian is in the chat right now. Adrian will be one of the mentors come cohort 8. So that's exciting. And then right now, also all the mentors are in the process of working and building out, like distilling their knowledge and their experience and their wisdom, what is speaking to them, what's their challenge, what they're working through right now, as we are working towards the end of the bootcamp. And then they'll be sharing that with either in the discussion of the public practice week or sometime later, where they have a full presentation of their project. We call it dissertation in CC. As we're building out this library of all the content.
You actually have to write dissertations, like going to college again. Like that's what John said, or like getting a master's or PhD or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, John, he was with us in episode 1, talking about right exertion. So this time, John will be doing a dissertation, deep dive into internal kung fu. So a lot of like energy channels work, a lot of breathing work, how to balance your chi, all that things will be now in his domain to explore and to dive deeper and push the boundary forward for people in CC, and then we can continue in that way. So that's also I think the episode that has more information and more details just been published on Frank's channel as well. So you guys can go and check that out later.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Chung Hong because his dissertation is the one that I like the most. Last bootcamp, this dissertation was on the conceptual mind versus like the role of concepts and the intellect in spiritual and meditation practice, because there's so many people out there that just either verify the state of no thoughts or verify silence, or just think that thoughts are just bad, you should just get real thoughts. But Chung Hong made a really good argument about how intellectualization or just thoughts can just the role of thoughts and concepts in general in spiritual practice, and how modernity, because part of the BDSM is the M, right? Modernity. If you really don't want to have thoughts, you can move to the woods. But if you're going to be modernity to an extent, you have to be able to learn how to think.
Even that moving to the woods might not work, right? In today's, if you've spent your entire life growing up in this modern context where there's just it's like the conditions for existing is so much more, I don't want to say conceptual, but there's just so much more
Demand,
right? And so then retreating to the words is like an attempt at maybe an attempt at abiding in some sort of cessation of that endless proliferating of the demand that's placed on mind in the modern context. Like, it's funny, you see all those memes, right, where it's like those memes or those reels where it's something crazy, and it's like this would obliterate the mind of a medieval peasant. It's like, so yeah, the architecture of mind in that way is just completely different today.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, can we even escape? Like, is escape in that way even an option? Or if escape being an option, how would you say this? It's like we even consider escape as an option because there's a condition to escape from, right? But then in that attempting to escape, you're always reaffirming what it is to be there is to be escaped from. You're not then working with the condition, right?
Yeah.
I just trying to get rid of thoughts. It only presupposes that you have a problem with proliferation. Otherwise, like we always say, you can think without thinking.
Yeah.
You can think more efficiently without attaching yourself to a thinker, for example, without trying to annihilate concept.
Yeah.
You get way more efficient.
I was just posting the link to a research I was talking with Taylor about, how they were discussing the concept of what do we mean by mind, like what do we mean by a thought thinking in all those ways from the Buddha Dharma perspective, particularly from the work of the third Karmapa, Rangjung Dorje. And they were just like exploring the 8 consciousnesses, and does that even map to like the model that the Western science psychology has for like subconscious, unconscious, conscious mind? And not necessarily, right? That could be the case that there's some similarities to it, but there's requires so much intricacy when we tinker with all these nuances of how we interface with reality. And it could easily be a very kind of like lobotomizing move to just like no thoughts, which is actually like suppressing your own mental faculty. Because a lot of the function of name and form, right? Immediately when you drive a car, like there's all this mapping of concepts that, you know, there's a stop sign, a limit, speed limit, like red light, green light, the bumper, all those things. You constantly have to map realities. And the rules of modern life is much, much more complicated. If we take like maybe 2000 years ago, if you would travel there, most likely the rules for the road is completely different. And we could argue it's simpler, right? Because most likely that there's no rules in that way that you have to follow. Sure, there could be like sense of intuition about which road is safe to travel, which roads you should stay away from, all those things. But like we're saying, all these kind of systematization of the modern world forces us to think in a very precise manners. Like the flight or the bus will leave at that time, and you have to become aware of time constantly. Today's what? Today's Friday. And all those things, right? It could be the case previously, you don't even think in Monday, Friday, whatever. You're just thinking like, okay, time is for the harvest. It's now time for rest. And now it's time for a new season. You just think in a much more, we could say, lower resolution way. But now you have to know like, okay, there's one way that my work right now has this KPI and it's mapped to my monthly performance, and I'm going to have a peak. If I don't do it well, I'm going to have a peak later on. And then it's like a yearly quarter. If you're business owners, you have to map it out, even like physical year, and all the fiduciary responsibilities you have to cater to your, like so much going on, right? And you need to perform it. Or if you have researchers, you know you need to publish papers, you know you need to apply for grants, you need to play the games. And if you are in like a team, you need to understand the dynamics of people. You gotta have just constantly this constant interaction in that way. So I guess in that way, Taylor, we're just saying, even if we want to retreat back to a simpler times, even in that simpler time, there's still the creeping of modernity, right? Like you probably still watch YouTube in a monastery.
Yep.
That's funny. Like I was just talking to a doctor yesterday. His name is Dr. Jared Tembrick. So his work was about using VR to connecting beyond space and time between the Native Americans now and their ancestors. So he was capturing a lot of videos to turn into VR experience so that people can feel what it feels like to have an authentic experience of learning how to cultivate rice on the river of Huron or something like that. And he was sharing about like this pushback he has with his tribal friends. And they was like, no, this is wrong. We should not like doing all this. Like we should go into simpler times. Like we should go back to like just roaming the land, blah, 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 blah. And Dr. Tembrick was like, dude, you're watching the game on your YouTube on an iPhone. What are you talking about? You still enjoy all the modern amenities.
Yep. Toilets.
Yeah, toilets.
Yep.
It's a green light.
It's convenience. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can post a link to those dissertations. We also actually did an interview.
With the what?
We actually did an interview with Chung Hong, and we can post some links to the dissertation if people are interested.
Yeah, we can do it later.
Yeah.
I also just I posted the research papers. People want to read about that. There's many kind of actual scholars when they go into this, and I'll point it to the point of feedback and teamwork later on. But there's so many scholars in a mindfulness journal that they actually study and think very deeply about the situation right now they call like a misappropriation of the Buddha Dharma. Like you take Buddha Dharma out of its context, and now you slice, dice to become whatever fits the modern zeitgeist, which is like sometimes we're also guilty of it, right? Which is fine. Like we have to work and meet people where they at, but there could be like just blatantly have no idea what's going on, but then we are not also willing to study. Like not willing to open up and connect to the greater lineage. So that was really the challenge, and why the situation feedback matters was around this time last year. Our head teacher, Mei Chang, they just suggest like, hey, I think you guys are still very, very intellectually and conceptually underdeveloped. You guys need to study together. So he set out there's two groups. One group you guys study Tathagata, so Buddha nature, and one group you guys study Dhammadhatu. And from that now generate the kind of scholastic activities that then become the dissertation by Chun Hong that Frank was just mentioning. And now this whole thing is being led by Taylor. So that's why Taylor is an instructor in that way. It's like leading the scholastic movement. But at first we was kind of like figuring it out and trying to point to each other about how we may still have wrong view, right? Or like how we may cling on to certain self-view in that way. It's an ongoing process. At first, like we read those texts and we just kind of like, oh, I don't understand what I'm reading. Like, yeah, then we can think concept like, oh, what does it mean to let go? What does it mean to have a non-conceptual mind? What does it mean to truly be so-called in alignment with the outflow of the Dhammadhatu? Like those is a big concepts that requires a lot of contemplation. And actually, the more contemplation that we do, I think the more we discover how much we don't know.
Yeah, and it also, a lot of these concepts wouldn't even make sense if you don't have the yogic experience.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, because so the yogic experience of what we do in the transmissions and the sitting practices go hand in hand with philosophical studies and the yogic philosophy that we read during the book club. Is it in a book club anymore? But I remember the first time Asian told me to like, oh, Frank, I was like, what do you think I should read? He was like, okay, we gotta be very careful, Frank, about what you're gonna be reading, because like a very specific thing that you should be reading, not just like read whatever, right? And then it was like, okay, I found this thing for you to read, and I do have a study partner for you. It's gonna be Taylor. So in the beginning, it was just gonna be me and Taylor trying to like make sense of it. And then some more people who realized, and I thought they started like getting into the group. Started too. The first one was like Tyson, and it was John. That was like 2 cohorts ago. But now he's evolved into a show now. Like Tyler has his own show, and maybe eventually his own cohort. And I stopped reading all this Luminous or whatever. I kind of just don't really have time to read anymore. So that's why I was learning about our teammates, right? But then like a few days ago, I was trying to catch up on Luminous Heart because I'm kind of behind. I know I'm going to catch up to all of it. And I was just listening to it. And then I got a transmission just listening to you, bro. I was like, holy shit, how do you get all the shit? Like the things I was really interested in, like Western philosophy, like skepticism, like Derrida. Like I used to be obsessed with that shit, dude. And even like the effects of like the self-view on like, I don't know, social media, just like all kinds of angles and tying it all into like Buddha Dharma when we were learning the bootcamp. And I was just like, wow, that was just like pretty amazing. Like actually it felt like I was like yoking to like the transmission every morning. Just this.
That's my reaction as well. Like I was catching up with the work that Taylor has been putting out, which is like we haven't published maybe any of it, barely anything.
I don't think we published any of it. Yeah,
just a little
like
bit from the people who joined the previous public practice week. We did seminar like some materials that like to like aggregate elements a little bit, but like the work that we are referring here, when I was catching up to what Taylor was doing, I was like, damn, this is really good. Like I was like, whoa.
It's a legit course. It's a legit course.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, shit, this is actually some strong stuff. And I was just seeing like how, because the way that Taylor was conducting it was also taking people on a tour, a historical dialectical tour, right? Which is like how these philosophers, these scholars, and these really yogis, they were dialecting, they were having feedback with each other through history. And it's back and forth.
And also like modern science, because Taylor was talking about how neuroscientists are always trying to map to the self to like a specific, brain region or whatever. So like in all different areas, like you could just tie it all together in like a very holistic way.
I think a lot of what I was doing with at least that aspect of that course of those teachings was tying together what seemed like an obvious thread to me. And it kind of reminds me, what you guys are saying right now reminds me of a point I wanted to bring up, just a brief point I wanted to bring up with what you were talking about earlier about language and the conditions for language. And it's like, I guess you could say culture and time, among other things, are, I think they're underappreciated in the as conditions for clarity of language. It's kind of like if you look at memes, right? Like it's like there is a Mm, there's a, I don't know if I'd call that a dialectic thread, maybe not, but there's a contextual evolution that gives memes the breadth of their meaning, and why if you see a meme, if you don't have the that broader context of what makes this funny or what makes this interesting, you lose that. And so it's the same thing with the various traditions and schools in Buddha Dharma. It's the same thing with the various schools of thought and traditions between the East and West. There's a clarifying relationship between them, and they're not, yeah. So, and I think, mm, so yeah, it makes for an interesting and very clarifying study, I think, of what it is we're doing here.
Yeah.
I guess another
It
way to
also,
look at this teamwork thing is like each one of us has a very unique way to express our karma as dharma, for example. Like for Taylor, how does Taylor give transmission? Well, through philosophical texts. But then Mei Chen gives transmission directly mind to mind. So I give transmission through making my videos. Right? Tyson gives transmission with this like, oh, let's just lift a towel for like 3 months. Something like that, right?
yeah, Jace made a comment to me the other day too about like I've been generating a lot of materials, but I don't really put in a lot of effort to make it visible, even to people within CC.
Right.
And it feels after that I realized it feels a little bit like a burying treasure. If I could
You should hide
call
them.
it treasure, if I could call it treasure myself, yeah.
You should hide them.
Yeah.
It's like the old Kamaba used to just hide like treasure
Yeah.
teachings, random places.
Somebody will find a bunch of documents 200 years from now on some dusty old hard drive next to some whatever else would be on there.
Yeah.
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 And then
So-
Chi was also one of our mentors. He's been giving transmission through drawing. He did a campfire teaching people how to draw.
Yeah.
All kinds of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually a really, really fun and interesting campfire that he did. He had us go through a very simple drawing exercise where it's like there was a group of us, right? And we would pick somebody that we wanted to draw. And so we'd have about maybe a minute or two to, we could look at the person, look at we sectioned off a piece of paper into 4 sections. We'd look at them and we draw with our dominant hand and see how that turned out. And the next one we would do is we did it with our left hand. And then after that, we would do it while not looking at the paper. And then we would do it with our eyes closed. And so it was very interesting to see, the way he articulated. I think part of it is kind of this letting go of control. And as there's this letting go of control, what is then expressed becomes a lot more interesting. And most of us found that the latter two, the ones we either drew while not looking at the paper or with our eyes closed, were the most interesting, and we enjoyed those the most. Yeah,
It's fascinating. I didn't make it to that particular campfire. That's also one of the things that the team aspect in CC, the type of connection and the kind of relating happens. It could be so dynamic. It could be so many functions to it, right? That could be the philosophical studies. There could be the drawing. There could be the exertion with Tyson. There could be these kind of shows where people tune in, because right now in the audience there's also CC members that is tuning in. We know we got Tinky. We know we got Adam. We know we got Adrian as well.
Has Chunhong been on any of the public videos that we've published on YouTube thus far?
Yeah. There is a video
okay.
with
Here, hold on. I have my drawings of him. Right? I picked him as who I wanted to draw, so I think these are quite funny.
Oh, you want to show how similar it
I'm
is?
gonna show. Yeah, I did them on flashcards, but so this is the one I did of him when I looked at him. I could look at the paper. I did it with my dominant
All right,
hand.
sorry, Tyler. You should stick to philosophy, bro.
No, I think
Let me see again.
Yeah, okay. This is the right-handed dominant hand. So this
Oh,
is,
that's pretty good.
I think this was she was describing it as something like this is when it's like we're really trying to, I don't know, it's not control appearances per se, but it's like we make something like this is what that thing is, and here is the clear representation of that. And then this was the left-handed attempt.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, you lose a little bit of control, but it's almost like a reluctant giving up of control because it's you're still looking at the screen, you're still looking at you're drawing unfold. Uh, this was looking at the screen, looking at the screen, but not looking at the paper, right?
Uh-huh.
And this was my favorite one. This was with your eyes closed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, these are the yeah. I thought that was a fun and interesting little campfire that she spearheaded.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah,
yeah, speaking of,
Taylor is actually a really good photographer. That's what one of the first thing I noticed about Taylor was like, I had no idea you have such good eyes for photography and like
mm,
filming too. I was like, oh, sometimes you can just see the way people take pictures or take videos. You're like, oh, this guy has sees the world in a very unique way, like his own kind of perspective. Like
mm,
aesthetically, like yeah, aesthetically.
yeah. Speaking of that, Frank, how much art besides your videos have you been making in the past few years? And like,
Uh,
do you still feel the same? I don't know, like the same drive or push to really want to put that out there and share with the world? Because like, I still take photos, but like I have almost no urge to like I'm just collecting them at this point. Like I have no urge to share them, maybe besides with you guys, but even then it's like I haven't really gotten around to doing much of it.
yeah, yeah. I think there's much less inclination to make art and put it out there to showcase my talent. Before that was like the
Mm,
main thing. I want to showcase how talented I was, how special my like mind is or whatever. But
mm,
nowadays when I put stuff out there, it's just like I almost don't think about that anymore. Before I used to get really high off of like my own creation. But then I
hmm
still work,
hmm
I work just as hard, if not harder. But then it's like I guess the intentions is quite different now. Um,
mm,
I actually just started practicing the violin for like maybe I've been doing that for like 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah,
mm,
I'm just kind of doing that. But it actually has a very different feel to it. And the way is that the reason for putting stuff out there. Now it's more like just work actually. It's like, oh, I'm trying to like
mm.
finish up this video so I can get people to come into the benda and like
That's
create
that's
it.
that's also one of the things I was talking about with Taylor before you hop on, Frank, is
Mm,
we're about to release the week 8 debrief, which was like the analysis on you as an art and the artist. Do you
mm.
remember that?
Yeah,
So we're about
yeah.
to publish that, and that's also one of the example of the type of really kind of vulnerability or the kind of teamwork that we're talking about.
Yeah. That's actually interesting because like the I think the most interesting part for me was how you put it together. I was like, dude, this is as part of like my artwork. It's Khan's artwork. It's like the way he put it out there. It's almost like an installation or like a performance piece, like a multimedia interactive performance piece, where like you can like at the end I couldn't tell the distinction anymore between like the audience, like, just like this inseparability between like the audience watching my video and watching them watching my videos and concept that up. And there's like also elements of like academia in that because people are like, oh, Khan's instruction was watching my videos and then like analyzing it and analyzing the trajectory of my karma and like whatever. And then at the end, it turned into like the question was like, oh, so how does wisdom come about? Like yes, that was my question. How does wisdom mature or whatever? And then
Yeah,
using the
yeah,
example of like videos of me like having like a screen on my cock playing the violin naked, all that shit.
yeah.
And it's
And I
just
was,
yeah.
yeah. Taylor, did you find like there's like that whole meeting, there was such like also a type of just a comedy of the entire situation, just fucking absurd. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is very
yeah.
absurd, right? Like the whole thing was very absurd. It's like Wait, there is something very deep and truly wise about this thing, which is like why it works, but there's also just this absurd, like deepest sneaker review on the planet, and they're just watching at it and just trying to see the wisdom from like how Frank review a Jordan. Like I think it's a Jordan 11. And we're just like, oh yeah, there's wisdom in it. And they're like, we're doing comic analysis. They're just like, it's so strange that the entire experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually I enjoyed it too because I haven't seen a lot of like I don't know, I'd probably say I haven't seen maybe like 90% of all the videos you've ever made, if even that. So maybe I've seen 10%. And so it's cool to be exposed to these for the first time and also like do it with you guys, with the group, and then talk
Yeah.
about it. And yeah, so it's a really yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a whole experience, right? Like
Yeah.
it could be so interesting that we leverage on this modern
Yeah.
affordance that we have over
Yeah.
Zoom, over like Frank's art, the storage of on that. And like we were splitting the cohort into 3 main groups, and each of the groups, was it 3 groups or was it more?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. No, I think it was three or four
I think it was
groups.
3.
Yeah,
yeah, but like
yeah.
each of the
And then
groups, oh
the
yeah, 3
constant
groups.
instructions.
Yeah. Because we pick out 10 art pieces that Frank produced, and each of that I actually like secretly make this was something I didn't even mention in that meeting. But like each of the cohort, each of the group, one would be a heartbreak videos, one would be like just a straight, strange, absurd, pure creativity, and one would be a mixtape of explosive transformation. So only but that like mix in different timeline. Some would start from way back when, some would like be the most recent one, but all these different ways that then we see like, oh, now the Frank Yang show in this interaction, because somebody was saying like, this feel like like why are we treating Frank like Shakespeare, like just analyze it? Because it is like Shakespeare, like it's expanding the boundaries. It's tragic in a lot of ways, but it's also highly comedic in a lot of ways as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Frank if how close to the like the style, the style, the feel, the attitude, the chaoticness, how much of that is in this visual representation, in the medium that it's in, close to, I don't know, I don't want to say like the way he sees and views the world, but like the Frank that we see now, having this conversation with us, feels a whole lot calmer, a whole lot more put together. And then you show him show a medieval peasant one of those videos, and they're gonna have a seizure.
Yeah, I think Meishin
Yeah.
always makes a comment of like, "Oh, too bad you guys don't get to see the Monkey King or like the
wild
wild
side.
one." It's a little
Yeah.
still a little bit wild, whatever. But it's like sometimes you would be like, you know how much things change or whatever. You guys notice. But at the same time, it's that's the question. It's like it's almost like I haven't changed at all, but at the same time, like I've changed so many times, died so many times. Yeah,
that's
it's
that
so
was one of the consideration, which is then the question is like, how does wisdom emerge, right? Which is how could that be that there is still a through line, a similarities, but then how is also possible that there's so much difference at the same time?
Yeah. That's when you start to really think about what is your trajectory, your karmic trajectory, what is your destiny? Like how do you come as you are and stay like true to yourself, I think, throughout this whole journey? And I don't know.
Yeah, and
It's like
in like a go ahead. Go ahead.
you go ahead. Yeah.
No, I wanted to say like if you were to 3D represent that, right? It's if we talk about this cyclical nature of samsara and conditioned existence of a sentient being, right? And so that's like this, and in the same way in the in our pedagogy, when we really try to technically tease out the mechanisms of mind, we also talk about this flattening of meaning, this compression of meaning and of experience, and so on and so forth. And so it's like in that compressing, there's also a flattening of like dimensionality, and that's where you see people in this cyclic existence, right? But as we train, we train and develop this vessel hold this. I don't know. It's almost like we talk about reclamation and accountability, and it's like in that the dimensions of meaning open up, and instead of being a flat circle, it becomes spiralic, and it's the spiraling down as we take more and more ownership of our own karma until you get to this inversion point where that funnel of, if you want to call it a funnel of being of the karma, inverts and into then this full ownership of our karma that we're no longer confined or confused by, that then becomes our dharma. But it's like there's a through line, right? There's still a through line of the conditions of becoming that. Then when we talk about wisdom to be expressed, right? That's like why we talk about there's still everybody all being itself, incarnating. We all have our uniqueness, we all have our preferences, right? But then it's just we're no longer trapped by them. We no longer reject them. And in that, then it's like there's this, I don't want to say like a purity of the relationship through which we can then express wisdom, but it's like, yeah, it's an expressing of wisdom rather than ignorance, something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of remind me how of like sometimes during our sits, just this whole like that we come to recognize these patterns, which is the pattern of nature itself. Is always cyclical, right? The fractal elements of reality. And sometimes Khan will talk about how during a sit, or maybe you run into the same conditioning in the next phase or the next cohort, or even just the next sit, or even within the same sit, you go through cycles and cycles of running through with and as the same conditioning. But each time you just go to a little bit on another dimension, another dimension, another dimension. But in a way, it's like nothing changes because like the nature of mind is beyond change. But at the same time, because it's beyond change, it includes all change. Yeah, Khan, can you talk a little bit about that? How like sometimes our acolytes will be like, "Hey, am I going backwards? Because I'm like facing the same kind of conditioning, but it doesn't seem like I'm going backwards."
Yeah, because I think like at those moments if we only measure the progress in terms of outcomes, in terms of like, oh, this is supposed to be gone by now, then we could feel like now in a sense of like an kind of like an nihilist attitude.
So it's
I
like
wanted
measuring
to,
progress by like frequency and duration of cessation.
yeah, like, oh, it's
Right.
supposed to be like stably suppressed. Should not come up.
Yeah.
Instead of like repatterning that same, it's like instead of seeing like, okay, let's say that you have a problem with anger, like you think that you should not be angry anymore. So then whenever that cluster of emotions or sensation come up again, you feel like you're regressing because like, oh, it's not supposed to feel like this. Instead of seeing that as a new opportunity, now to repattern the same set of condition with a new trajectory. Like then we're actually talking about the fitness to make a choice. Like people want to
Yeah.
talk about free will and determinism, but it's just like it's just a lot of times that you don't have free will, things feel deterministic because you don't have the fitness to make a choice. You can't change because you are imprisoned by the momentum of your karma. It's like most likely if right now you're poor and you have money problem, tomorrow you most likely don't have the choice to be rich. Is that free will or deterministic? It's just like whatever was lacking in terms of your money habits, your relational capital, blah, 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 blah. But say like there is somebody who's very well connected in business world, tomorrow they can lose everything, but the next day after that, they can borrow immediately, right? Because why is that the case? Because they have the type of condition that can work with the sense of zero money in a completely different way than me right now. Like I don't have that kind of condition right now. But would I like to grow in the capacity of fitness to be more financially abundant? Of course, yeah. So then it's like a cultivation of the same condition of like, how does it feel to run out of money? Like, do I freak out? Do I make drastic wrong decision? Do I not look at the money? Do I like avoid that problem entirely? Or do I work with that condition again and again in a different way? Yeah, so then it's like when we talk about how in the most advanced cohort in CC, we talk about how sometimes cohort A stand for advanced, but it can also be standing for autonomy. It's like cohort A people are expected to take full accountability for their choice, for their situation, condition, so that they can earn their sovereignty. They can earn the sense of I am the beholder and the creator of my situation. I can make a choice. I can change. But it's a lot of fitness. It's a lot of fitness.
Yeah. I think maybe the most direct way to put it is like before you were bounded by your karma. But now that when you flip your karma to dharma, now you can actually, the inseparability between dharma and karma and nirvana and samsara, you can actually have a choice to repattern and aggregate in ways that is still aligned with your karmic trajectory. But now I don't want to say you're in control of it, but now you just recognize, you just know what's going on. And you do have a choice to instantiate certain parts of yourself that used to bind you, but now you just are,
Yeah.
And
You
that
don't
embodying
moralize
process
it anymore.
that embodying process takes time and attention, right? It takes reps. It takes a prolonged period of just putting in the reps.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why, like, coming back to the conversation of public practice week, that's why this is an invitation. So that for that 1 week, let's train together. We'll be accepting maybe 50 people. Because I know that, like, for whatever reason, we can't accept many more than that. And also we have to prioritize for people within the cohort right now to also continue training with us. So I will actually be sending the links to register for that right now. But it's a way to get to know each other, right? It's a way to, okay, let's see whether whatever that's going on with CC, does that fit you? Does that make sense? And from that, do you want to commit doing this for 90 days? Because that's a lot of time. Yeah. And that's a lot of possibility for change and transformation. A lot of commitment in that way. Yeah.
You're putting it in the chat.
Yep, I am putting in the chat.
Yep.
You guys can register for that meeting. I just sent it on the Zoom chat, the live chat in that way. And later on, you can also catch that in Frank's social. So you can register for that. That week from Monday to Friday. It is free to join, but we have to have a limited number of people, so we can't accept everyone because we want also like to do, of course, everything will be uploaded on YouTube later on, so you guys can also practice along in your own time. But we want to have a dedicated 1 hour discussion. That's why we have to limit the number of people so we can actually have enough intimacy so that we can talk to one another and get to know each other through 5 days of practice.
Yeah. How many people are typically present in our session 1? Because that tends to be the bigger group.
Usually right now in session 1, we have about 20, 24, 23-ish every day. Yeah.
I see. I'm asking because I'm usually, because of my schedule, not able to, and the time zone thing, not able to attend session 1. So I'm usually there in session 2, and it's a bit smaller, maybe about 12 to 14 people on average. So, and even that, like even that, like it's still pretty intimate, and it can be, it's a workable number to have a, to have a really good discussion. So I'm curious how. Yeah, what do you see to be the upper threshold of that limit?
I think it's like realistic because I know there's gonna be a situation in the public practice suite where maybe we have 35 people in the room, but
See,
we'll rotate
that feels that a little big. Yeah.
Yeah, that's starting to feel a little big, right? So we have to rotate of like, okay, we'll have to do some sort of regulation or some sort of facilitation that allows a different perspective to be voiced in each day. So there's that aspect. But in a cohort setting, like we have roughly about 20-ish people per session. So that's how we ensure that over the course of 90 days, we will deeply know each other. Like right now, we're sharing with each other by phase 4, week 11. We share with each other our frustration, our ambitions, our doubt, like how we find challenging certain topics to be challenging. We share a lot of things, but that needs a very well-designed, well-protected container, right? So that's why like we want to keep cohort size at very particular numbers. Of course, like these live stream, and we have further plans for how these live stream can develop. It can scale much more, and we can have hundreds of people here talking with us and giving questions and whatnot. But for cohort size, we always want to kind of keep in mind not to dilute the intimacy and the connection within the cohort.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a very powerful part of this training is what we've talked about, of this reassociation with the totality of our being, and with that there comes the taking accountability, but also then the weight of the responsibility of now holding like this the more and more of the actual weight of the various desires we hold, things that we
Yeah.
often disassociate and repress, disassociate from and repress. And I mean, I'm sure most of us listening in, or even us here, we can think about times in our lives where, depending on the environment you're in, the group that you're relating with, it's like some things that it's like the integrity of the container, which make for the conditions such that you can then express and share this and truly own it, which then becomes a catalyst for transformation. It's like, I think that's something that's, I wouldn't say it's overlooked, because it's like we understand that as being an integral part of this process. And I don't know if I would necessarily say it's underappreciated, but it's like, how do I say this without sounding arrogant or cocky about what CC can do? But it's like the process works, man, and
Yeah, I think
it's quite
yeah.
beautiful, right, to see how many people have been
Yeah.
able to not just contend with things in and of themselves that they maybe haven't been in however many decades of their lives, but then to do that in an open and intimate way with this kind of network of budding friendships is just,
Yeah.
it's quite beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we share and we contemplate in CC with each other, like, are we celebrating enough? Should we celebrate more? Like,
Yeah.
because there could be I don't know, there could be a lot of merit in like probably enjoying our triumph, enjoying what we have just accomplished, which is great. I think that's the function of a lot of the Saturday debrief, to come together to enjoy the fruits of 5 days of hard training, 5 days of meeting our life head on. But there's also this aspect in CC, which is there's so many cycles of transformation that before we like take pride in the previous one, we already know it become the affliction in the next cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just
And,
move, continue,
and so
continue.
then on our side, on the team side, on the the administration and the mentor side, it's like it's not letting that what would otherwise be a celebration turn into an unskillful eagerness, where we then start to get ahead of ourselves. Right.
Right.
And then it just turns into this I guess what we talk about with steady pacing, right?
Yeah.
A
Or
steady
like
pacing of
periodization.
training.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Periodization of
periodization.
training, right?
Yeah.
Because like it's not
Yep.
like the same pace from start to finish. We
Yep.
starting to pick up the pace in the first phase, going really hard at phase 2 and phase 3, and then cooling down
Yep.
again. So
Yep.
even the 12 weeks program, that we have this periodization of training, and then in the 1 month between two bootcamp, we also like consistently manage kind of like an off-season pace, which is lighter, it's less intense, taper in the way that you can stabilize this and test for yourself. Does the new level realization hold, and can you integrate?
Yep. Yeah, it's
That's
just like
gonna become
physical training, right? It's like you hit a PR at the end of a training cycle, and like the eager, maybe immature parts of us would want to be like, okay, for the next training cycle, I'm going to so that's my new 100%. But maybe we get a little bit arrogant. It's like, I probably could have done 5% more, but then that skews all the percentages we'll use for the next training cycle, right?
right.
Yeah, yeah, you can just see your fitness level increasing in real time. Like,
Yep.
I think before, like me and Taylor will have like a few weeks where we both get really tired.
Yeah, I still have that.
Yeah, you used to have that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we used to have that, but
We still
the
have
first
that. Yeah.
time we worked with Mei Chen was like half the cohort was like man, it's just like a lot, right? And then the second time we worked together, that gets reduced down to like 2 weeks, and then like a week. Now it's just a few days, and then you just got a second win. Like at week 10, just feel like I can like drive and do live shows and still be somewhat coherent. My phone keeps it's getting heated. It was too heated, but otherwise this would be be fine. But then I was like editing videos, like trying to put out the John's content to get ready to sync up with this show, because I did tell people I'm gonna upload Friday, and I didn't sleep all night, and then just work all day, and then still having fun, and then I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing actually. But like, I'm really enjoying it. Like, just feeling like stronger and stronger every day, more loving, and like, I don't know, man. Just
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I also have a difficult conversations. I had a difficult conversation yesterday, telling one of my exes that it's okay that we resent each other, because that's out of love. Yeah, like, so the conversation I never had before. We'll never be able to have the fitness to have before. Me and Con had a really a tough conversation out of love too, and we expressed some of the karmas we had to work through.
Yeah.
And we both felt like we actually had to, spend like 3 cohorts to really build up the fitness to have an actual constructive conversation.
Yeah. And I think like if we hadn't had that conversation, like there wouldn't be that like digital Frank Yang exhibition. Because after that, like that idea just came to me of like, okay, so like because to have that conversation with you, I was reflecting on all the impact you had on me in regarding to what your show means, right? So then it's just reflecting on that. It's just the ideas like, oh, that there could be a possibility of also showing other people what Frank means. Yeah. So there is this aspect of critical feedback, of holding tough conversation. Sometimes that could be the last thing we want to do, right? Sometimes the whole realization thing could be just a massive attempt to avoid having these things, to avoid like these edges of comfort where we really have to say to the people who we have a lot of tension with what we really feel about them. Yeah, I mean, like to directly share with you guys, like one of the team meeting we have, I think last week, I just broke down in tears because it was just too much. It was just too much stress, too much going on, and I was realizing that I was going in the wrong direction, and just a lot of compounding in terms of that, and the tears has come. There's just a lot of that edge of fitness where you really are pushing to, you have no more to give, to hit rock bottom while retaining lucidity, to go into like one rep max in that way, but in terms of relating with other, and then from that, not trying to run away from it, but just working on that, because that's the most immature part of us, right? We have to grow that part. Because sometimes like we yeah, sure, like there are great highs, there's peak of our confidence, the peak of our capacity, and we have a massive training cycle, all the conditions are favorable, we feel like the wind on our side, and of course we feel great. But then what would our fitness mean if at the depth of our instability we abandon ourselves, we abandon the other?
Turn left on the Barrett's Road towards Charlottesville.
And that's the challenge, right? Which is like when really shit hits the fan, whatever that looks like for us, can we still be lucid? Can we still be cognizant? Not just kind of like zone out and disassociate, but like no, like work the karma, work the condition, actually make changes. Not just like, oh, I'm not feeling anything because there's nobody here. Sure, like any one of us can do those kind of jogging maneuvers. That's not the easy part. That's not the hard part. That's the easy part. That's really the easy part.
Yes.
So I need to like drive or something. Like there's
I was thinking about how I think the times I've had that most recently in the past few months, that like really being at the edge of your fitness and you want to just cry, is during actual workouts. I don't know, like you pushing, yeah.
I've seen some of the reels of people who's like go to sparring. So like they could be wrestling, BJJ, or kickboxing,
Yeah.
and like they say goodbye to each other, like, yo, man, like they're really good workout. Like, see you later. You're like, oh yeah, see you later. And you drive away and your tear just comes out because you just
Yeah.
got you just got beat up and it's so painful. And
Yeah.
it's like, sometimes that's how some of the
Yeah.
meetings feel like. I'm like, it's just so
Yeah.
painful, man. Like just the most direct feedback about the core affliction that you have, and now you gotta lay your guts on the table and people dissecting you.
Yeah. But you have the lucidity to see that.
Yeah.
It's almost, you see that line. It's like, oh, I can step past this line and I'm just gonna cry. I'm just gonna break down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you can't go.
So yeah, there's many moments like that. There's like a lot of that intensity that we bring into the practice that we call like relating. It's really about team dynamics, right? Really about treating this as a collective effort while
Yeah.
fully individuating what we're about. That's the challenging part.
And I think there's a kind of an important I don't know, I don't want to call it I don't want to call it a cause, but it's like, what is the fuel, right, to continuously step into that place in our training, to continue training in that way. Like, what is the fuel that brings us over and over again to the stimulus of adaptation, and often the stimulus that we feel that intensity, and we see where our boundary is, and sometimes we break down and cry from it. And it's I think a big aspect of that is kind of just like what a team is. It's in some ways it's both friends and rivals. Like it's right. And a lot of athletes, what pushes them the most is either it's like the weight of responsibility to their teammates, or the rivalry and competition, the competition between them and their rival, something like that. And that dynamic is present in this team atmosphere. Because otherwise, if there's just the retreating into the mountain, whether it's an actual mountain, or you situate your life in such a way where it is just kind of a retreat, right? Like that's there's no more fuel. There's no relative cause to continue developing and training like that.
Yeah. And we know our audience, right? We know ourselves. Currently, our audience and ourselves have a lot of that kind of masculine competitiveness. That kind of like, we start this whole show with week 0 about the theme of dreaming big. In that way, and there's this drive in a lot of us, right, to go get it, to like make it work, somehow figure it out, and to have that kind of conquering spirit. So and that's a great legacy of what the war has come to here, right? There's a lot of violence, there's a lot of that tenacity to, or just watching Sean Combs, the Reckoning, the documentaries.
I meant to ask you, I meant to bring that up before we started this, and say
I'm just watching it.
The Puff Daddy is out. Yeah. I watched episode 1 yesterday.
Yeah, the Diddy. But yeah, like sometimes that can take to extreme, and it could become like a dark side to the situation, right?
Have you seen this meme? The one that's just like, I just need to work harder. I just need to work harder.
It's blurring out.
It's
blurring out because it's a set. I just need to work harder.
And it just becomes a cycle of
right.
Yeah,
but like that tenacity, we have to work at it, right? I believe that as we have this, as the masculinity here, it's just not a male thing, right? It's like even L'Oreal, Nikki's watching this. A lot of our female team members are asked to be determined, are asked to be decisive, are asked to be assertive. Because you need that in order to make shit happen.
Yeah. Where do you want to eat for dinner?
Yeah, it's like a lot of that like, or like sometimes it's a funny thing, like, yeah, what do you want for dinner? But sometimes that could be things like, there's 2 tough choices. You are the leader. You got to make some tough calls here. Like, what's gonna be? And it's constantly kind of like you have to determine what this moment, what the meaning of this moment is about. So even the topic of like, okay, one of the big topic we're gonna spend much more time later on, but it's like people are questioning or wondering about life purpose, right? Or like meaning of life. But the meaning of life similar to the free will and deterministic question in the way of like, you don't have the fitness to decide the meaning of life.
Yeah.
You can't say this is the meaning of life and you can stick to it. So like, oh, nihilistic. It's like the immature
because it's
response.
the responsibility to determine, right, what the meaning of life is, not saying that there is no substantial ultimate meaning of life in that way where it's like you can tell me like the meaning of life is the meaning of life, essentially.
Yeah. It's like a sandbox kind of game where you get to decide, but sometimes that becomes a burden. So like I don't want to I don't want that possibility. I don't want that level of freedom. I want to go back to the box. I want to go back to the cave. Yeah. So there's that aspect. But yeah, like there is that spirit, there is that fire that we are taming, that we are maturing in CC. And we want to invite you guys for at least the public practice week and also for cohort 8. We're starting next January. So there's a lot of things that we want to get ready and share with our audience here, and really like keeping the shows every Friday, 4:30. You guys can tune up, and we want to talk to you guys and get to know you guys, and to share more of the spirit, and hopefully we can create some sort of a culture here.
Yep. So
Okay.
that'll be not next week, but the following week.
Yes,
So
it
it's
will
coming
be
up
2
pretty
weeks from
fast.
now, Monday, the next Monday. Yeah.
Yep. Coming up pretty fast.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll see you guys there, and there's more updates on the how to join public live, the public practice week. There will also be the yeah, there's a lot of comments here. We want to see you guys in the public practice week, so you guys can sign up to that, and we'll see you around. There's also links later on, but like we're saying, it's a limited spot. We'll make it public for YouTube as well, but to join it live, we have a limited number of people. But yep, all that is good now, and we'll see you around. Take care and have a good one.